Very good morning. I welcome you all to the SLA Asian chapter meeting on education session. Today we have three eminent speakers from Asia who will be sharing their views on Asian special libraries, perspective and issues related to the Asia SLA Asia. On behalf of the Asian chapter SLA, I welcome all the attendees of the session. Today, the first speaker of the session is Dr. Nabi Hassan. He is the librarian and head of the Central Library, Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Earlier, he has served as the University Librarian of Aligarh Muslim University. He was the first Norman E. Borlaug Fellow from India in the Library Information Systems at Cornell University, New York. Dr. Hassan has an experience of almost 26 years of active library services and postgraduate teaching and has published over 100 books and papers. He has successfully implemented many innovative library projects, including 3 World Bank assisted library projects. Currently, he is heading the National Resource Center in Library and Information Sciences in the Ministry of Education, Government of India, as its coordinator under its ARPIT MOOCs program, and he is also the president of SLA Asia for the current year. Today, Dr. Nabi will be speaking on SLA Asia, a success story of its virtual events and road ahead. And he will be giving the background activities of SLA Asian chapter. So I welcome Dr. Nabi for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Praveen Babbar, for this wonderful introduction. So, friends, I am Dr. Nabi Hassan. I am heading the library system at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. And I'm also 2020 president of Asia Community. So, as you know that this education session is on Asian libraries at the crossroad, the road ahead. So we will be giving you in this session the overview of what Asian libraries are doing or what SLA Asia chapter is and about the success stories. But main focus of my presentation will be, as the topic suggests, SLA Asia, a success story of its virtual event and the road ahead. Before I start my agenda, I would like to share with all the attendees that we are available in this session throughout the full session, and you can post any queries in the chat box. We will be trying to answer all your queries immediately, and if you have any further details to know from us, then you can email us as well from our email ID as shown in the presentation. So the agenda of my presentation is like I will be covering SLA Asia in detail, including its background, its mission, but the focus will be obviously on the success story of SLA Asia's virtual events, or you can say like the webinar series that SLA Asia organized and is still continuing. So our webinars were very successful. They were full to the capacity, and we started very early all these events. Then I will also be sharing with you that how we are selecting the topics, how we are considering the speakers, and what are the activities before or during or post event. And I will also be sharing with you interesting statistical analysis of SLA Asia events, and finally the summing up. So SLA Asia is not a new community, or earlier it was known as chapter. It was started in the year 1999, and that time New Zealand and Australia were also part of Asian chapter. New Zealand and Australia got separated in 2005. The community has now members from 15 countries, and the community has won many awards, and especially like the fastest growing chapter of the SLA award in the year 2009. Currently we have 100+ active members. You all know that Dr. P.K. Jain, popularly known as PK, one of the SLA board member, currently he's the director of SLA board, has contributed immensely for this chapter, and a lot of credit goes to him for the development and for the rise of this chapter. And many of the members of SLA Asia have won bigger laurels as well, including Hall of Fame award. So if you see the country-wise members of the SLA Asia, we have currently 100 plus members, and these members are interestingly from 15 different countries, and many of the people are from USA as well. It means people are taking interest in the membership of SLA Asia because we are active, we are dynamic, we used to host many important events. As far as presidents are concerned, the SLA Asia has so far seen president from 9 different countries. It means the SLA Asia is represented as far as leadership is concerned by different countries, from different regions, from different cultures. So we have a vibrant culture as well in the SLA Asia. So SLA Asia members have won really some great award, as I have already shared with you, including Hall of Fame, SLA Fellow, and many more awards, including Rising Star Award. And as far as the division or community awards are concerned, also SLA Asia members have won many awards, whether these are Science Technology Division awards or Business and Finance Division award or the PAM division or other awards. One of the most important activity of SLA Asia is its biennial conference, that is International Conference of Asian Special Libraries, ICOSL. We have so far hosted 6 editions of this ICOSL in different countries, including India, Japan, Philippines, South Korea, Indonesia, and our 7th conference is scheduled to be held in May 2021 in the Seoul, Korea. So you all are welcome as well to this beautiful country and for this important event. So as you can see from this slide, we have been attending as a SLA Asia member, we have been attending all the important events, including annual conferences. And some of our senior members have attended more than 10 or up to 15 SLA annual conferences. So you can see the dedication or interest of SLA Asia people in different you can say SLA annual conferences, whether it is Cleveland, whether it is Baltimore or the previous events. Or you can see we have also celebrated 21st birthday of SLA Asia. So we have been contributing to the SLA Asia, including as a speaker, as poster presenter, or serving in different committees. So the mission of SLA Asia is to provide networking opportunities to the community librarians and information professional and encourage collaboration and knowledge sharing. In the past also, SLA Asia has been at the forefront in organizing different trainings or workshops. And as I have already shared, that ICOSL, that is the biennial conference of the SLA Asia, is its most important and reputed event. So now come to the main topic, that is SLA Asia virtual events or webinar series. I would like to share the success story of these events. So I'm happy to share that we converted this pandemic situation to an opportunity. And in fact, in the March itself, when the libraries started closing, we could foresee that this is the time to host the virtual event. So with the cooperation of the SLA headquarters, we were given the GoToWebinar access from the headquarters, and we started hosting virtual event. Our first webinar was in first week of April itself, and we have so far hosted all the great people from SLA headquarters, including its former president Abraham, or Hall Kirkwood or the current president Tara or the upcoming president or the president-elect. And also we have hosted immediate past president of American Library Association as well. So far we have hosted 12 webinars, and this series is continuing, and these 12 webinars have been attended by 6,403 people. It means on an average all our webinars have been attended by at least 534 people. It means our webinars were very popular, and in many of the webinar we could not accommodate the people because our account or the participant list reached to the maximum capacity of the GoToWebinar app limit, that is 1000. So while we are trying to select the topics and speaker, we have a core group of 4 people like me, Dr. Praveen Babbar, Dr. PK Jain, and Dr. Devalkar. We are discussing a lot about the topic and the speaker. We are trying to see what are the topics which are in demand, who are the speaker who can deliver really good contents, and also we are trying to see that what are the different other events being hosted in the region. So we are trying to avoid those topics or speakers which are being covered by others, so that duplication may be avoided. So we have a core groups WhatsApp group. We are discussing a lot on WhatsApp group, maybe through video call as well, and we are discussing on like Google Meet. We are using GoToWebinar or GoToMeetings app, and we are trying to have uniformity, or we are trying to have some sort of consensus before finalizing any topic or speaker. So you can see that this is the WhatsApp group of core team, having 4 important people who are really senior people who are aware about the topics and situations in the region, in the profession globally, and we are very carefully selecting the topic and the speaker. And this is a bigger group, SLA Asian chapter, which has almost 100 members, and we are discussing the topics and speaker in the bigger group as well, and we are trying to have some consensus. So this is the screenshot which shows a screen from Google Meet, a screen from WhatsApp group, and a screen from GoToWebinar. We are discussing a lot, and we are discussing happily. You can see from our faces that we are really enthusiastic professional. And once the topic and the speaker is decided, we are using different channels for the promotion of our event. We are posting event detail on our SLA Asian chapter website. Then we are creating a beautiful registration page having all the information about the speaker and the topic, and then we are creating a beautiful poster having photograph of the speaker and the content with different colors, and also the details of the team, core team is also given, so that people can help us in organizing it in the best possible way. And then we are sharing on WhatsApp group or like Facebook or Instagram pages. We are also sharing the event detail on SLA using SLA Connect on Open Forum and SLA Asia group. And all the members of the SLA Asia are also encouraged to share the event detail on their personal social media pages as well. And also we are sending lot of emails, like over 5,000 emails are sent to different people, inviting them to join the event. So preparation before or during the event. So we used to practice a lot to avoid any last minute issues. Sometimes we are involving the speaker as well for a practice session. That helps us in better coordination of the event. So you can see this is the SLA Asia web page. Like you can see, we are giving all the information here on the top. SLA Asia chapter webinar on a particular topic, date. Then at the lower part of the page, we are giving the registration detail and all other things. So this is a SLA Asia Facebook page where we are sharing the information about our events, and this is a SLA Asia Instagram page, And this is the personal web, you can say social media links of like Nabi Hassan, and we are as a personal social media links I'm sharing on like WhatsApp or Twitter or Instagram. In the same way, my other colleagues in the SLA area, Asia are sharing the information about event. That is why the events are becoming popular. And you can see that wide circulation is also through email. This is a email sent by Dr. P.K. Jain to almost 5,000 people. So it is giving us lot of opportunity to share our event detail with the people. So this is a SLA Asia page using SLA Connect, and we are sharing on open forum on and also on SLA Asia. And this is, you can see the registration page. We are sharing the photograph and we are sharing the topic and the author details so that people may become interested. So once the event has been concluded successfully, we are also having some post-event activities so that people may come back to us for future event. Like we are issuing certificate of appreciation to all the speakers. We are also issuing Thanksgiving mail to all the speakers. We are providing certificate of participation to all the attendees within 24 hours using GoToWebinar app utility. And we are also trying to respond all the post webinar queries to all the people. And the most important thing is that like we are uploading all the PPTs and videos of the speakers with their consent on the SLA Asia website. So people are seeing that we are really trying to deliver some useful professional content, and some of the people who could not join, they can also use our content from the SLA Asia website where these things are uploaded. So this is the Thanksgiving mail sent to one of the speakers. This is certificate of appreciation issued to one of the our honorable speaker, and this is the certificate of participation issued to all the participants. So these all things are adding lot of value to our virtual event, and people are coming back to us. Like this, you can see videos and PPTs are shared on SLA Asia webpage. All the videos and PPTs are available. You can still visit, download, or see there. So this is the screen which shows how varied topics and how varied speakers we are trying to bring in our virtual event, so that people are should not lose their interest, because all our speakers, all our topics are varied. Like you can see here Hall Kirkwood, you can see Jay Bhatt, you can see Praveen, you can see Chema, or you can see other people like our president-elect or current president, or like you can see Abraham, or you can see the our immediate past president of American Library Association. So we are trying to bring all the different people with all the different variety of topics, so that people should take interest in our events. And this is a statistical analysis of SLA Asia event. You can see people have not lost interest. Still, there are a lot of webinars happening throughout the globe, and our you can say participation in our event hosted by SLA Asia is still continuing, and people are taking interest. To sum up, I would like to say that SLA Asia has converted this pandemic time into an opportunity to connect with professionals from across the globe. The webinar series has made SLA Asia more popular, and membership of the association has increased. With the help of SLA headquarters, the membership charges for new members were also decreased. So we have a lot of value for SLA Asia in this part of the region as well, because SLA Asia is hosting good events, and they are providing better professional networking opportunities. And we will continue to host various type of events, including trainings, or you can say faculty development or library development programs. And one of our important event, that is ICOSL, is scheduled from 12 to 14 May 2021. And with these activities, our SLA Asia leaders are becoming more involved at headquarters level. Like Dr. PK is currently serving as director SLA board. So with this, I would like to thank all the listeners, SLA headquarters, for giving us this opportunity to deliver a presentation in the this education session. So this is the virtual event webinar team. Thank you for hosting us on this education session. Over to you, Dr. Praveen.
Thanks, Dr. Nabi, for sharing the success story of SLA Asian chapter. Under the SLA Asian chapter presidentship, the chapter has achieved new heights under your honor. So thank you so much. Now the second presenter is Dr. P.K. Jain, who has an experience of over 30 years in the field of library information science. He holds a PhD, MPhil, MLIS degree in library information science and master degree in economics and sociology. Presently, he's working with the Institute of Economic Growth and under the University of Delhi, India. He is past president of SLA Asian chapter. He is also presently the treasurer of SLA Asian chapter and award chair for Science and Technology Division. He is the president of Society for Library Professionals. He has received a lot of honors and awards, including SLA Hall of Fame for the year 2018, SLA Asian Librarian Award for 2017, Special Libraries Association Fellow for the year 2015, SLA DDLP Award for 2004, and many more to name. He has published more than 30 research papers and presented and published in national and international conferences in the countries like USA, UK, Japan, France, Germany, and many more. He has edited almost 12 books, conference proceedings, and chaired and delivered invited talks and plenary talks in many national and international conferences. He is also known for organizing national and international conferences, including the series of ICUSL, which was held in Delhi, Japan, Philippines, Korea, Indonesia, and he has also been initiating with the conference of Colnet for the year 2015 and 16. And there is another conference which is known as Information Library Professional Series, which was started in 2012. So that was also initiated by him. So I welcome him to the session, and he will be today discussing the research data, something about research databases, which are accessed in the special libraries of Asia. He will share his study on how research is progressing with the statistical and scholarly databases in Asia. So over to you, Dr. P.K. Jain.
Thank you, Dr. Praveen Babbar. My screen is visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Praveen Babbar, for nice introduction, and thanks to the SLA to organize this educational session on Asian libraries at the crossroads, the road ahead, and give me an opportunity as speaker. Today, I am speaking on research databases in special libraries in Asia. Research databases are the crux of any special libraries. The Asian region known for specialization in various niche areas. Special libraries have specialist clients who are users of research-oriented information sources, micro-literature or primary sources in the form of periodicals, research project reports, conference proceedings, annual reviews, manuals, methodological tools, patents, standards, statistical compendia, etc. from their core collection. Most of these libraries have their institutional repositories to store and disseminate their own research work. This presentation is aimed to identify some special libraries in Asia in different sectors like science and technology, agriculture, medicine, social science, law, etc. This presentation also seeks to ascertain the ability and availability of different commercial, free, and in-house research databases in these libraries. Research databases are essential source of information for the benefit of scientists, social scientists, academics, and other researchers to advance their research and scholarly interests in special libraries. There are huge numbers of research databases, full text, as well as bibliographical or numerical or statistical available in Asia. They are interest of various groups of special users like chemists, technocrats, computer scientists, mathematicians, doctors, lawyers, planners, and policy makers, etc. A special library is generally concerned with the literature of a particular subject or a group of subjects and extend its facilities to a particular type of clients. In India, the government has set up various promotional organizations after the independence to support industrial and scientific research in various fields. The examples from India are CSIR, DRDO, ICAR, ICMR, etc. Similar type of organizations have set up in the field of social science, history, and philosophy. These promotional bodies have in turn up set up in a number of high quality research institutions in different domains. These institutional heads, as well as government runs administrative and regulatory bodies, have quite a few well stocked libraries, not only in India but in Asia also. Government libraries like Parliament Library, Research and Development Organization libraries like BARC Library, DECIDOC Library, Defense Science and Documentation Center Library, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research Library, TIFR Library, Business, Trade and Industry libraries like CII Library, Exim Bank of India Library, Socio-Economic Research and Development Research libraries like Institute of Economic Growth, IEG, Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research Mumbai, National Institute of Public Finance and Policy Delhi, Center for Policy Research, CPR. Other library like Law Libraries, National Law Library, Delhi, Law College Pune Library, medical libraries like National Medical Library New Delhi and All India Institute of Medical Sciences AIIMS New Delhi. Engineering and technology libraries like IITs and IITs, etc. Management libraries like IIM's Library, Indian Institute of Management Libraries. Institute libraries like Indian Statistical Institute, ISII, IISC libraries. Special libraries dealing in specific subject generally subscribe to some similar research databases. Hence, few libraries have been chosen under each subject of special libraries. Research databases. Database refers to a large collection of electronically organized data for one or more purpose can be accessed electronically. A specialized database, often called a research database, allows target searching on one or specific subject areas. For example, engineering, medicine, etc. For a specific format, for example, books, articles, conference proceedings, video, image, etc. Or for a specific date ranging during which information was published. These are many types of research data like bibliographic, full text multimedia, numeric, etc. But bibliographic databases and full text databases are much popular and widely used by the special libraries. Bibliographic databases provide indexing and abstracting information services for topical searching across resources in multiple formats. The abstract in a short type of description of the content like an article that helps researchers to decide its relevance to their research. Full text databases provide access to the full text of articles along with the index and abstract from multi-format resources like journal articles, reports, ebooks, news directory, reports, reviews, etc. These databases allow the users of the library to access their resource like thousands of e-journals, ebooks, newspaper articles, reports, videos, etc. Some important databases From the commercial databases, we can say important databases in special libraries are ACM Digital Library, ABESCO, Science Direct from Elsevier, Emerald Inside, JSTOR, LexisNexis, MathSciNet, Oxford University Press, ProQuest, Taylor and Francis. From government databases, the major statistical agencies which provide socio-economic data for researchers, planners, and policymakers. Some of the example includes Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, MOSPI, Central Statistical Office, CSO, National Sample Survey Office, NSSO, Ministry of Agriculture, Directorate of Economics and Statistics, DES, Ministry of Commerce, Directorate Journal of Commerce Intelligence and Statistics, DGCIS, Registrar General of India, RGI, for Population of India, Planning Commission, Ministry of Labor and Employment, Labor Bureau, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Department of Higher Education, Ministry of Finance, Reserve Bank of India, etc. In private databases, the most popular databases are from CMIE, Center for Monetary Indian Economy, including PROVES and other databases. DataNet India from published in indiastate.com, Capital Line, and EPW Research Foundation, Economic and Political Weekly Research Foundation. Some free databases are Open Access Thesis and Dissertation, Google Scholar, Skyfinder, ChemSpider. Indian special libraries and research databases are listed on slides for some of the organizations which are rich in statistical and research databases in India, like Institute of Economic Growth uses mostly JSTOR, PROVES, Science Direct, District Matrix, India State, and many more. Indian Institute of Technology, ACM Digital Library, IEL Online, American Physical Society, INSPEC, Math Science, SciFinder, CMI Database, and many more. National Institute of Technology in India, they also use MathSciNet, Web of Science, ACM Digital Library, AIP Journals, Nature, and many more. Indian Institute of Management in India, they are using CMI databases, Euromonitor, Bloomberg, NASCOM, Statista, Capitaline, Infoline, SSC Online, Sage Online, Taylor and Francis, Wiley, and many. Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, Mumbai, India, JSTOR, South Asian Archives, Science Direct. Indian Statistical Institutes in India, ACM Digital Library, CMI Database, Economist Full Test, and many more. Indian Special Libraries and Research Databases. These are the continuation of the earlier slide. Like Pusat Library, Cochin, they are using many databases. Information Center for Aerospace Sciences and Technology, Centers for Biological Sciences, National Institute of Agriculture Extension Management, Raman Institute, Research Institute. Many databases are used in many libraries, and some are the unique for particular special library. There are some examples from the Thailand special libraries, Asian Institute of Technology Thailand, and Egyptian University of Thailand, Bangkok. They are using some same databases and some separate databases. These are some examples from the Sri Lanka National Aquatic Resource Research Development Agency, Colombo, Sri Lanka. In Pakistan, ComSats Institute Information Technology, Islamabad, using AIP, APS journals, IOP, ISI Web of Knowledge, MathSciNet, Science Online, JSTOR, nature publications, etc. In South Korea, Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, using Factiva, Wall Street Journals, Forbes, Bloomberg, ISI Medicine, and many more. In Singapore, Nanyang Technology University, National Library Board, Singapore Polytechnic, they are using many research databases for their library. Scholars are using these databases like ABESCO Host, Economist, Agricola, ASME Digital Library, etc. And these are some examples from the Philippines Special Libraries, International Rice Research Institute Library and National Library of the Philippines. International Rice Research Institute Library using Rice Disease Online, World Rice Statistics, Farm Household Survey Database, etc. These are some of the examples from the Japan Special Libraries. Hamamatsu University School of Medicine, Nagasaki University. These are the examples from the China Special Libraries, China University of Geosciences, Wuhan, China. They are using SCI, SCCD, PQDT, CALIS, AMS Math Scinet, IOP Science, etc. Most of the special libraries provide link to the commercial database on their website. These e-resources are available in such libraries through subscription mode, and access to the resources are governed by the license agreement between the respective producer of such resources and the institute. Such databases can be accessed by user in two ways, through IP address based within campus access and through user ID and password on-off campus access. Conclusion. Special libraries have developed in Asia are mostly under the aegis of its government organizations. These libraries have their web pages or separate websites to provide the details of the special collection, mostly in electronic form, available for the scholars. Among the other basic details of the library, for the purpose of the meaningful utilization of the limited budgetary allocation, most of the institutions belonging to a particular cluster have gone for subscription to highly expensive full text primary literature databases. For example, scholarly journals and proceedings of learned bodies in a consortium mode. It is believed that open access movement, which has started in Western countries, has now practices in Asian countries and is facilitating access to the high quality research material at minimum cost, and is surely beneficial to Asian special libraries in future. In conclusion, it can be said that research databases are vast and varied. They are available in different formats. In order to serve the client in a better way, the librarians managing special libraries are required to undergo training so that they are acquainted with scope and limitation of data sources. Thank you. As Dr. Nabi Hassan already told, that we are available for any question. You can ask any question to us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Jain, for sharing how research is progressing and further discussing the impact of research databases provided by the Asian libraries to its users. Thank you for your presentation. So moving on ahead, we have next speaker, the third speaker for the session, Dr. Devul Kar, who has experience of over 30 years in serving the library and in libraries. He holds a PhD degree from University of Delhi, MLIS degree in Library Information Science, and Master degree in Philosophy from University of North Bengal. He is presently working as a librarian at Ambedkar University, Delhi, and previously he has worked with the a reputed institute of India known known as the Energy and Resources Institute. He has wrote about 25 articles and edited over 10 books, and he is privileged to receive number of awards recognizing his achievements like DDLP Award from Special Libraries Association in the year 2017 and 2008. He has received Bonnie Hilch International Science and Technology and Engineering Division Award and SLA Presidential Citation Award in the year 2009. He has been got S&T Librarian Achievement Award and Outstanding Achievement in Business Librarianship Award in year 2013. Dr. Carr was also recipient of Assist InfoShare Award in the year 2007, and he got Endeavour Executive Fellowship in 2014 from Government of Australia, and he has worked as visiting fellow at University of Technology, Sydney, Australia. He is also the founder member of World Digital Libraries, an international journal, and is on editorial board member of several library and information science journals around the world. So I welcome him to this session, and today he will be showing and discussing Asia's most 10 beautiful libraries. Asia, as you know, is known for its beauty and its architecture, which is one of the finest architecture in the world. So it will be very interesting to know about some of the most beautiful libraries of Asia. So over to you, Dr. Debul. Looking forward to see your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Praveen Babbar. Hello, everybody. Welcome to SLA 2020 Asian Communities session. Thanks for SLA Asian Communities for giving me the opportunity to speak in this session. I will talk today on Asia's 10 most beautiful libraries. You know, some wanders for the sights, other travel for the architecture. But book lovers traverse the world for a great library. And with good reason, libraries are treasures troves for those who seek knowledge and ideas, enlightenment and escape. They are places where culture and history are preserved, where knowledge is assembled and disseminated, and where communities connect and learn. From a media field library in Japan to a depository of religious sutras in South Korea, and even an environmentally sustainable library in Taiwan, these 10 libraries, sanctuaries showcase the wealth of purposes that libraries serve. First, I will talk and show you the Chinese 3 beautiful libraries. This is the Tianyi Pavilion Library, Ningbo, China. This Tianyi Pavilion Library, Ningbo, China, was built in 1561 by Fan King, a high-ranking Ming Dynasty government official. The world's first oldest private library lies beside the tranquil Yuayu Lake. In 1965, Fan's great grandson Fan Wingwang added a pavilion by the pond, as well as artificial hills and lifelike animal sculpture to the library's surroundings. It's no wonder that the landscape is admired as the library's impressive private collection of 300,000 ancient books and historical records, also known as Book City in South China. It also hosts Tiani Library Museum, which showcases the culture of storing books. The next one, the National Library of China, Beijing, China. This is the NLC, National Library of China. This National Library of China, Beijing, was founded by Qing government in 1909, and the original library's extensive collection outgrew the confines of its home at Guanguha Temple, now called the NLC Ancient Book Library. It moved to the current location in 1987, a strikingly modern building with an all-glass facade consisting of a pedestal base with a smaller middle section, crowded by a large reading room with a 2,000 seat capacity. The library holds over 35 million items, including 35,000 pieces of script sheets and a large collection of foreign languages works. This is the Liuan Library, Jiaojie village in China. This Liuan Library is just a 2-hour drive from metropolitan city Beijing. In Jiaojie village, Liuan Library, a non-profit outfit conceived to provide free reading resources to the village children and the public. Chinese architect Li Jiandong was rather creative in his use of firewood sticks. Not only do they help disperse light evenly throughout the interior, they also help the library blend into the village's rustic environment. As the colors of the sticks change depending on the season, inside cedar, compound boards function as bookshelves and as large stairs that readers may also use as seats for reading. Now I will show and talk some of the 4 beautiful libraries in Japan. This is the Musashino Art University Museum Library, Tokyo, Japan. This Musashino Art University Museum Library is a 2-story structure, uses wood and glass to perfection, completed by Shuo Fujimoto Architects in 2010. For one of Japan's most prestigious art universities. The exterior is made of timber shelves and covered with planes of glass. The interior is covered almost entirely by bookshelves and filled with many rare and valuable works, ranging from 13th century European manuscripts to 20th century artworks. This is the Nakajima Library in Akita, Japan. This Nakajima Library is located within the Akita International University campus. Nakajima Library is considered Japan's most beautiful library noted for its semicircular design that bears resemblance to the Roman class Colosseum, constructed using ancient Akita prefecture methods. The roof is made with local cedar wood and fans out in Georgia's dome-like configuration. Books in the foreign language made up over 60% of the library's 75,000 strong collection of works. So even readers who are not fluent in Japanese will feel at home here. This is the Kanazawa Yomiuri Library, Japan. The Kanazawa Yomiuri Library, its white surface would be overly stark if not for the 6,000 round windows punctuating its facade. The unique design by Japanese architects Kazumi Kudo and Hiroshi Horiba filters sunlight into the reading room, gifting the atmosphere with a sense of tranquility. With over 400,000 books, including 45,000 titles just for children, the architects wants reader to be surrounded by the overwhelming physical presence of books, something that electronic device cannot convey. Next one of Japan's is Sendai Mediathek Library in Sendai, Japan. Sendai Mediathek Sendai, Japan Library is designed by Japanese architectural icon Toyo Ito. Sendai Mediathek is multi-purpose establishment contained within a cubic glass of enclosure, its 7 floors seemingly floating above the ground and supported by steel lattice. Beside books on general topics and media, the library has a vast collection of virtual and auditory records from DVDs to audition tests. This collection caters to the visually and hearing impaired as well. This stunning public library facility also houses a children's library, a gallery, a bookstore, a cafe, and a theater. Next one is from South Korea. This is a Ahimsa Temple Janggyeong Panjon Library in South Korea. This Ahimsa Temple Janggyeong Panjon is one of Korea's most beloved Buddhist temples. Site is on a slope in a Gyeongsang mountain range. The temple is home to a UNESCO cultural relic, the Tripitaka Koreana. Its collection of over 80,000 Buddhist scriptures carved into ancient wooden blocks that dates back to the 13th century. The engraved blocks are coated in poisonous lacquer to drive insects away and stored in a Janggyeong Panjon, a cluster of depositories built to store religious treasures, built on a higher level than the temple. The depositories bear simple Jason-era style details with a doors, windows, and storage shelves positioned for optimal ventilation and humidity. Next one from Taiwan. This is the Taipei Public Library, Bituku branch, Taipei, Taiwan. This Taipei Public Library was opened in 2006. This public library is one of the country's first green building. Solar cells on the roof generate 16,000 watts, while its wooden structure, deep balconies, vertical trellis, and sloped roof are designed to curb electricity and water usage. The library main appeal lies in its environmentally sustainable design, proximity to the Buto Hot Springs, and collection of over 20,000 English and Chinese books. I'll show the next one from India, that is Rampur Raja Library, Rampur, India. This Rampur Raja Library, Rampur, was built by ruler of Rampur state. The Nawab Faizullah Khan created the core of the library from his personal collection and of Indo-Islamic manuscripts in over 2,000 years, 200 years ago. His descendants were patrons of calligraphers, scholars, poets, artists, and musicians who added greatly to the collection of books and miniature paintings. Nawab of Kaf Ali Khan brought back a great number of Islamic manuscripts from his Haji pilgrim, including parchment attributed to Ali Abi Talib, the fourth Caliph of Islam. The Raja Library currently possesses over 17,000 manuscripts in the Arabic, Persian, Pashto, Sanskrit, Urdu, Hindi, and Turkish language, in addition to 80,000 books on art, history, culture, and some astronomical instruments. As I think, these 10 libraries are the most beautiful libraries in the ancient in Asia, which attracted me. Thank you. Over to Chair to Probin Babbar. Thank you.
Book lovers transfer the world for a great library, and libraries are treasure troves for those who seek knowledge and ideas. So I thank you, Dr. Kar, for taking us through the most beautiful libraries of Asia virtually. As we will be inviting the SLA members for ICOSL 2021 in Seoul, South Korea next year, it would be definitely an opportunity to see some more beautiful libraries of South Korean architecture and visiting the beautiful libraries in South Korea next year. So thank you once again. So as we have now come to the end of the presentation of our three speakers for today's session, I open the floor for any questions or queries from the attendees. The speakers will be happy to answer your questions and queries.
Thank you, Dr. Babbar.